Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. We're on part 3 of looking at the Urza's Legacy pre-constructed decks, and that means today is Radiant's Revenge, which is a white and blue deck. So let's dive into it. Let's have a look at the deck list. So we have 14 creatures, 11 instants, 3 enchantments, 4 artifacts, 2 sorceries, and 26 lands, and we've got a mana curve off to the side there as usual. So let's dive in and look at some of these creatures. So, white blue. This is maybe not a great selection of white creatures to start off with. Although saying that, Mother of Runes, very good. Mother of Runes is great. Mother of Runes is really pulling the weight of the rest of the others here. So Mother of Runes is 1 white mana for a 1/1, taps to give a creature you control protection from a colour of your choice until end turn. Very, very strong effect. It stops removal, it gets enemy auras off your creatures, it can make one of your creatures unblockable, it can make them into a really good blocker. Just really good ability to have, especially like on a 1/1 for 1 mana. Really good. Radiance Dragoons, 4 mana for a 2/5, and it comes in gain 5 life. And it's got Echo, so you've got to pay for it again on your next turn. If you were really desperate, this could be like a very expensive bad life gain spell. But if it sticks around, it's a fairly decent blocker, I suppose. Sanctum Custodian is basically a upgraded Samite healer, so it's 2 colours, 1 white, 1/2, taps to prevent 2 damage to a creature or player. That's okay, I guess. And then Sustainer of the Realm, 2 colourless, 2 white, for a 2/3 angel, and whenever it blocks, it gets +0/+2 until end turn. Again, that's okay. So yeah, it makes a good blocker, I suppose. And then we have some blue creatures. So Fogbank. I really like Fogbank. Actually, this is actually one of my favorite blue cards, just because it's so annoying to deal with. 0/2 flyer, defender, and prevent all damage that it would deal or receive. Just makes it just such a fantastically good blocker. I really like Fogbank. Raven Familiar is a weird one. So I still can't decide if Raven Familiar is good or not, but I look forward to reading some comments proving me wrong. So 3 mana for a 1/2 with flying and echo, so you got to pay for it twice. But it hasn't entered the battlefield ability, so you do get some use out of it, even if you don't pay the echo, which is good. So when it comes to play, look at the top 3 cards of your library, 1 into hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in order. I suppose that is, I suppose that's quite good. To look at top 3 and then pick 1. It's basically Scry 3, isn't it? I suppose it is Scry 3, isn't it? Well, you then don't get to keep them on top. I'm going to just say Raven Familiar is better than average. Let's just say that. But probably not worth paying the echo cost to keep it around. Because then it's just a 1/2 flyer. Thornwind Fairy is just one of these. 1/1 flyer for 1 colourless and 2 blue, flying, tap to do 1 damage to creature or player. I always say it, but it's weird to think that blue used to have this ability when it's so very clearly a red ability to do indirect damage like this. And then Vigilant Drake, 2 of those, 5 mana for a 3/3 flyer, and you play 2 colours and a blue to untap it. So fine. I feel like there's got to be some sort of combo potential there. Like anything that lets you pay mana to untap it has got to have some sort of combo potential. There's probably some obscure like instant win combo out there with Vigilant Drake. I'd really like to know what it is. And then we have some sort of artifact and enchantment creatures. So Mobile Fort, 4 mana for a 0/6 defender. You can pay 3 to give it +3, -1 until end of turn, and it can attack as if it didn't have a defender. Unfortunately, you can only play that ability once a turn, which would have been really fun to be able to sink a load of mana to this and turn it into like a 12/4 or something. That would have been quite fun. Ticking Gnomes is just a 3/3 for 3 with Echo, and you sacrifice to do 1 damage to a creature or player. Fine, I guess. And then 2 Opal Champions. So this is a continuation of the sleeping enchantments from the previous set. So the original enchantment creatures, so Sucket Theros, But yes, what this guy does, he's an enchantment, and if your opponent casts a creature spell, he becomes a 3/3 with first strike, which is fine, I guess. It's kind of like a weak deterrent. I suppose you can always rely on your opponent kind of casting a creature spell, but they could always like see it and be like, "Oh, I don't want you to have a 3/3 creature. Maybe I'll just hold off until I can deal with it." And being an enchantment, being an enchantment creature makes him doubly vulnerable to removal because he can be hit by disenchant, or he can be hit by other direct damage or kill spells. But I think he's probably the best out of the opal creatures. And then a bunch of white utility spells. So disenchant, we see disenchant a lot in these preconstructed decks because it's a core card. Erase to exile an enchantment. 3 Radiance Judgment, which is fitting, it being a deck called Radiance Revenge. But we'll get into why it's still kind of not. It could be better later on. But 3 Radiance Judgment, which destroys a creature with power 4 or greater, and you can cycle it, so if you don't have a target for it, whatever, that's fine, you pitch it, get a new spell. Path of Peace. So 4 mana sorcery to destroy a creature, and the controller of the owner gains 4 life. So this is kind of a this is like a ghetto Swords to Plowshares. Obviously nowhere as good as Swords to Plowshares, but at common this is, I guess, okay. It's not a terrible drawback because out of all the potential drawbacks you could have, giving the creature's owner life as opposed to anything else is kind of like the least worst thing you could do, because you can always just like attack them and reduce that life. But obviously this is still very expensive for what it does. And then pacifism to make something unable to attack or block. And then we just have a random collection of blue spells. Catalog, 2 cards in the blue, instant, draw 2 cards, and discard a card. I think at instant speed that's fine. Miscalculation is a counter target spell unless they pay an additional 2, and it has cycling, so in case you don't want to counter something, you can cycle it and draw a card, I guess. Opportunity is a big, expensive draw spell, draw 4, at instant actually, which surprised me. For some reason, I think I always assumed it was a sorcery, but having it instant is quite fun. And then Power Sink, which just counters the spell unless the caster pays an additional X, and if they don't, all their lands get tapped. And then we have, just finishing things off with some enchantment artifacts and non-basic land. So we have the cycling non-basics. 2 Dragon Bloods, which is 3 to tap and put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Bit expensive, but fine, I guess. Ring of Gix. Jix? I'm going to say Gix. So this is basically Icy Manipulator for 1 cheaper, but you've got to pay for it again next turn. And it's rare for some reason as well, whereas Icy Manipulator has always been uncommon. 1 tap target artifact, creature, or land. Yeah, sure. I'm not sure this is really needed to be a rare. I think this would have been fine at uncommon. And then Urza's Blueprint, 6 mana with Echo, which is very expensive. It's 12 mana over 2 turns, and then tap, draw a card. I mean, like, it's a fine ability when it comes down, but like 6 mana is so, and you say you've got to pay that again next turn as well. So again, that's I don't think that's very good really at all. So what could have been? So I'm not a big fan of this deck. I'm just gonna say it because she's front and center there. How do you have a deck called Radiance Revenge and not include Radiant in it? So Radiant is this. I'm gonna I don't really want to go too much into lore because that's not the point in this video series. But Radiant is this like quite important character from the story. She's before there was a Chroma or Avacyn, Radiant was the crazy angel who went mad and went a bit too far in kind of purging unbelievers and going mad. And yeah, you have a deck called Radiant's Revenge and you don't have Radiant in it, and you could have just, I don't know, dropped kind of a lot of the creatures, put Radiant in it, who benefits from creature with flying. You have Voice of Law and Voice of Grace, who are angels with flying, so they synergize with Radiant, and they're angels, so it's on theme. Karmic Guide is, I mean, printed it's a spirit, it is now an angel spirit, but again, it's like got really good synergy because it has flying and it resurrects creatures, so it can resurrect angels. You could have Weatherseed Fairies, who are another creature with flying. Angelic Curator is an angel spirit with flying and protection from artifacts. And Expendable Troops is a 2/1, I think, for 2, and it taps and sacrifices to do 2 damage to attacking or blocking creature. But yeah, absolutely crazy that it's a theme deck called Radiant's Revenge, and it doesn't have Radiant and a lot of angels in it. It just seems mad to me. Radiant deserved better. Not in terms of story. She's horrible in the story. She just goes completely mad and kills a bunch of people, and yeah, she's not great. But yeah, she definitely should have been in this deck, and yeah, I don't know. So in summary, I think this one's a little disappointing. Not just because it's really off theme by not having Radiant in it, but it's just very boring, isn't it? Like I think the strength of blue and white is usually like blue white skies, which is quite boring and straightforward, and it's been seen a million times. But like, it's what the color combination is really strong at. Like stall out the ground, and then have a bunch of flyers, and it just doesn't really do this at all. Like, the selection of creatures isn't great. It's got this really weird grab bag of like white and blue spells. The rares in it are really weird. Like, it's 2 artifacts as the rares, which is very strange. Yeah, kind of disappointed by this one. I think this, on paper, this looks like the weakest one out of Urza's Legacy, but that's just on paper. Did you have this deck? Am I wrong? Did you play it? Was it actually quite good, or did you have to make changes to it to win with it? I'd really like to know. Stick a comment below, and I'll be back next time to look at the last deck from Urza's Legacy. But until then, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good day.